भर के उड़ान है जादू की नगरी तेरा आसमान। ये चमकीली दुनिया अनोखा जहान है जादू की नगरी तेरा आसमान। यहाँ संग में तेरे मैं नुक्ताए नूर, यहाँ संग में तेरे मैं नुक्ताए नूर। वतन से तुम्हारे ना जाना है दूर, हो रहा है अनुभव हो रहा है अनुभव। यहाँ सत्य स्वमान ये चमकीली दुनिया अनोखा जहान है जादू की नगरी तेरा आसमान। ओ आया है मन यहाँ भर के उड़ान है जादू की नगरी तेरा आसमान। सब रूहें यहाँ पर अमूल्य रतन, सब रूहें यहाँ पर अमूल्य रतन। निरंतर प्रकाशित ये तेरा वतन। मैं भी हूँ यहाँ पर, मैं भी हूँ यहाँ पर तेरे ही समान। ये चमकीली दुनिया अनोखा जहान है जादू की नगरी तेरा आसमान। ओ आया है मन यहाँ भर के उड़ान है जादू की नगरी तेरा आसमान। मन का ये मौन यहाँ कितना है प्यारा, मन का ये मौन यहाँ कितना है प्यारा, साया है मुझ पर यहाँ हरदम तुम्हारा। मैं तो यहाँ पर अनंत शक्तिवान, ये चमकीली दुनिया अनोखा जहान है, जादू की नगरी तेरा आसमान। ओ आया है मन यहाँ भर के उड़ान, है जादू की नगरी तेरा आसमान। तेरा आसमान।
Om Shanti. Om Shanti. A very warm welcome to those who weren't here this morning. I know that some of you had a very long journey to get here. I hope each mile that you took was adding to your mileage of pilgrimage of remembrance. Yes? The longer the journey, the greater the chance to be with Baba. And to add to that, you know, we count our mileage for air miles, but how many miles have I taken to go home? And that's in minutes, not in mileage. How many of you understood this, even the summary of the song? No one? Very few? Okay. It's all about Sangam Yug. Why? Because it's talking about this is the time when we go to that sparkling world and put on our costume there. And so it's talking about the subtle region, but that only happens at the confluence age. So it's a beautiful theme, and everything is connected with the confluence age. The most important period in the whole cycle, the time which Baba describes as the diamond age. Have this much gold, and it's heavy, but have one little diamond, and its value is equivalent, just a tiny little diamond. And this much gold, and you'll say, well, it's glittering too much. but a beautiful sparkling diamond, and you'll say, that really is special. And so even greater than the golden age is Sangam Yug, the confluence age. When people used to ask Sakar Baba, Baba, when will Satyug come? Baba used to tease them and say, are you trying to tell me you don't want me to be with you anymore? Because if Sangam Yug finishes and Satyug comes, I won't be with you anymore. But of course, when Brahma Baba left and became Avyakt, then many of the Dadis thought, well, Sangam Yug was special because of Sakar Baba. And now that Baba has gone, it's okay for Sangam Yug to finish. But of course, there were so many of Baba's children waiting to find Baba, or for Baba to find them. And so Sangam Yug has lasted much, much longer than I personally anticipated. I thought Sangam Yug would finish in 1976. And then I thought Sangam Yug finish in the year 2000. And now I don't count the days anymore. But the speed with which drama is moving is an indication that it's not too far away. Only in Sangam Yug am I blessed with the third eye. And with my third eye open, I see myself. In Satyug, to what extent will we know ourselves? There'll be an awareness of soul separate from body. And so even though everything is beautiful and wonderful, we won't be trapped by it. We'll enjoy it, but we won't be trapped by it. But in Sangam Yug, I know about the whole cycle. I know about myself. I know about the light side. I know about the dark side. Satyug, I won't even know that I had to make effort to get there, or I had to make effort to imbibe the divine virtues. I won't know any of that. Sometimes they say ignorance is bliss, and so it's good. I don't need to know the dark side. I won't even know that the day is going to turn to dusk and then evening and then it's going to become dark again. Ignorance is lovely. I don't need to know. But Sangam Yug, I can see it's dark, but it's going to become light. The day is coming. Sangam Yug, not only do I recognize myself, who am I, but also I recognize God. At no other time in the whole cycle do I know God. Half the cycle I ignore God. I've taken all I needed from Him. But even when I'm searching for God, through the Copper Age and the Iron Age, maybe at first it's a very pure, unadulterated love and a search for truth. And then I get into many desires and I have a shopping list for God. And then by the end of the Iron Age, I'm actually blaming God. So my love has become very adulterated. I'm remembering deities, I'm remembering gurus, I'm remembering human beings. But the love has become very mixed. And then when I don't get what I want, when things aren't going my way, what do? I start complaining and then blaming God. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? So, confluence, God finds me. Who would say that God found them? And who would say that they were looking for God and so they found God? So the first one, who feels that God found them? Wow, it's the majority. I don't even have to ask the second question. But it was like Brahma Baba. You know, there's an expression that comes in the Murli. This Brahman was going along merrily on his own path, and suddenly this Brahman got trapped. And of course, Baba's not meaning that in any negative sense, but just the fact that he was totally unaware that such a thing could happen. Who felt at some point in their life that they would become yogis? No one? Oh, a few. Well, I know I didn't. I had no idea that this would be my life. But when the intellect opened and things changed, I looked back and I said, well, these and these were the signs that I would become a yogi. But at that time I didn't realize it. And so it was a total surprise to me and to everyone else around me that I chose this life. But I look back over the years and years, and even though there have been ups and downs and many challenges, I wouldn't have given up even 1 year of even the challenges. Everything that happened taught me so much. And I think it's our challenges going up and down through the cycle and in Sangam Yuga, they've taught us humility. I know we're going to deal with the subject of ego a bit later on, but our mistakes have taught us a great deal of humility. And so Sangam Yuga, even though there were many mistakes, that's also okay. That was also something that was important. You know, when you go from here to there on a mountain, it's not a straight journey. You go up the mountain, you come down into a valley, but every period of up and down, you're moving closer to your destination. And so Sangam Yuga is like that. And when Baba says, every moment of the confluence age is benevolent, that's what Baba means. When it happens, it feels, oh my goodness, why, how, if, but then you say, it happened for a good reason. There was a reason why that happened. And it taught me this, this, and this, but most of all, it taught me humility and compassion for others, especially those who are going through similar things. When Daddy used to get sick, and Daddy's health was never strong, so right in the days of Karachi even, when she'd get sick, and even as a child she'd been through many illnesses, she said to Mama, why does this always happen to me? And Mama said to her, so that you can have empathy for others who are going to be in a similar situation. If I haven't experienced something, I can have a certain amount of compassion, but I don't really know what it is they're going through. Who's had a fracture in their life? A good few, not everyone, but a good few. The pain of a fracture is incredible. And so I've been through fractures. So now I know when somebody says, I've got a fracture, I know exactly what they're talking about and how much they have to tolerate. So Sangam Yuga is benevolent. Everything happens for a good reason. At one point, after Mama had gone, Daddy was given Mama's room to stay in. Do you know which is Mama's room in Pandav Bhavan? It's the meeting room where Dadiji used to have her meetings. So first it was Mama's room adjoining Baba's room, and there was an interconnecting door. And then after Mama became Avyakt, it became Didi's room. And for a short period in between, it was Dadi Janki's room for just a few weeks. But really it was Didi's room. And after Didi became Avyakt, it became Dadiji's meeting room. We had many, many sweet meetings in that room. So at that point, Dadi was sitting outside Mama's room, and Baba came out of his room, and she'd been just quietly reflecting. And Baba stopped and he said, "Child, you must never complain about my daughter." And she looked a bit puzzled. "I haven't complained." And then Baba said, "You must never complain about Dharma. She's my sweet child." And so just remember that when I think of Dharma as Baba's sweet child, then I'm always going to love Dharma. And everything is reciprocal, isn't it? Whatever you put out is what comes back to you. And so when I say I love Dharma, Dharma is going to be very sweet to you. And when you say, I hate Dharma, you'll just keep feeling that Dharma is very unkind and unjust, even though it's not. And so let me not complain about any other child of Baba, but especially not complain about Dharma. And so in Sangam Yug, we understand all these secrets. We understand how God works. A priest spoke to one of our sisters, and this would have been during the time we were going to different places to ask them about Million Minutes and if their church or their school, etc., would have a minute of silence for the world, for the International Day of Peace. So a sister was talking to a priest about peace of mind and peace and so on. And so he said to her, "It's so difficult to connect with God and to know God." And she said, "Well, I meditate every day at 4 o'clock, and I can feel God's presence, and I can feel God speaking to me. It's not in words, but it's in feelings, and it's a conversation with God." And he was totally shocked. Here's a person who supposedly has given his life for God, and he's saying it's difficult to connect with God. And here is Baba's child saying, "Well, I have a conversation with God every day, and sometimes, many times a day." And for the daddies, they would just have this inner dialogue going on with God all day. You could feel how they weren't just communicating with us, but they were in touch with Baba. And Baba was telling them, talking to them, or even just giving them the feeling of whatever next. And within a conversation, Baba was guiding that conversation. So Sangam Yug gives us this experience of actually being with God, knowing God. And it's interesting that Baba says, the extent to which we know God is number-wise, and out of all my children, never mind the rest of the world, but out of all my children, only a lucky handful of the few actually know me. And so Sangam Yug, can I take advantage of this opportunity and deeply get to know God more and more? There won't be another opportunity. Ram Lochan Bhai passed away recently. Who knew Ram Lochan Bhai? Very few. But he used to be in Pandav Bhavan, and probably that's where you knew him. And then when Shantivan started, he became the head of the servery department, the dining rooms in Shantivan. And it was multiple dining rooms that he had to look after. You know how big Shantivan is. But he would take the time and trouble to ask people he knew, and sometimes knew people he didn't know even, what would you like? And if they expressed anything, sometimes we would just say, everything is good, so everything is fine. But if somebody expressed a desire for something, he would make it happen. He would arrange for it. And why I'm remembering that is because when he was in London at one point, because many Madhuban Nivasis say it's a pilgrimage place where Dadi did so much tapasya, and so can we come to London? And so they come, and he came at one point, not so long ago, and he was asked a question. And the question was, how come when I sit to meditate, I fall asleep? His answer was deeply profound. He said, there's only a very short space of time in which we can actually experience God and have a living relationship with God. And if I'm not able to take advantage of that short time to have that practical experience in my life, it's telling me that I've done something wrong. And so whatever it has been, this is coming to deprive me of that experience of knowing God and feeling God. He didn't beat around the bush. He didn't say, well, you must be physically tired, you need more rest. It was a very, very profound answer. And so, on the one hand, you'd say he was doing external service. But on the other hand, he was churning Gyan and experimenting with all the things that Baba talks about, especially in terms of yoga. The speciality of the Madhuban Nivasis is that there's so much physical work, and they're all in charge of their different departments or helping in the different departments. But given all of that, whilst they're doing their work, they're also experimenting with yoga, they're churning Gyan, and many of them now give classes on YouTube or have interviews and things like this. So when Baba praises the Madhuban Nivasis, it's for good reason. So I'm seeing that Sangam Yug. Do I realize the value of Sangam Yug? That is the only opportunity I'll have through the whole Kalpa to be able to experience God. And so let me really focus on that one subject so that I can have that experience. Nobody knows how long Sangam Yuga is going to last. Some people say, well, it's going to last 100 years, isn't it? Yes, but how much of that time is Satyug? Because it spans both. Or is it that it doesn't include Satyug and it's just simply very quick transition from here to there? We go home, of course. So Sangam Yug, every moment is very precious. Everything about Sangam Yug is precious. Think about your journey to the subtle region. Baba says, when he incarnates, his first act is to create the subtle region. because it doesn't exist for the whole cycle. Golden Age, Silver Age, Copper Age, Iron Age. The subtle region doesn't exist. People have had visions through bhakti, but actually being able to go to the subtle dimension and experience being with Baba and coming back and doing what they need to do. So that sort of experience, this is why this song is so much connected with Sangam Yug. Travel to that shining world and experience the beauty of that world. So the subtle dimension, can I take advantage and experience that more and more? Leaving this costume behind and going first to Paramdham. Again, only in Sangam Yug do we know where the home is. For most of the cycle, we are not too bothered. We are quite happy down here. But even when we start searching for the journey back home, the path back home, we don't find it because we don't have information, it's imagination. And so to go to the home through my consciousness, and from that seed stage, come back down, and there's the subtle region. Take on your costume of light, meet with Bap Dada, and then come back down here in the physical dimension. But come back in your shining costume, not in your costume of bones and flesh, but just your shining costume. It's something you can experiment with, especially evening yoga. Baba says in the evenings, that's the time when they say deities travel across the world. And so easy for me to experience the subtle dimension, my own costume of light, and experiment with being in that world of light. So many things can happen through experimentation. And I hear Baba's Murlis, especially the Avyakt ones, and I say, it's lovely, it's lovely, it's lovely. But it's actually Baba giving me very detailed explanation of how Brahma Baba and Mama very quickly attained their stage. This morning, the biggest number, when I was asking for different age groups, the biggest number was the 30-year plus. So a large proportion of this gathering are souls who've been with Baba for 30 plus years. Baba became Avyakt in 33 years. Mama became Avyakt in 20-something years. So what was the effort that they made? The Avyakt Murli tells us. They didn't need the Avyakt Murlis to become complete. For us, we've been given this additional help. And so, if I understand the Avyakt Murli in that way, that these are the experiments that Baba and Mama did to reach their Karmateet stage, then maybe it'll be an impetus for me to practice and also reach my own Karmateet stage. So that stage in which I'm able to be in the subtle region, I can experiment and feel that now, but also to go home. When we go home later on, we won't even know we're in our home. The soul is totally inert. No thought, no feeling, just quiet. Souls who haven't been to Satyug think that heaven is up above. And that's because the experience of the home is one of total freedom. Nothing pulls you. Total silence, total quiet. But you don't even know that this is peace. And we experience that peace. Then when we come down, that experience has changed us. And it helps us deal with practical things in a very different way. You know, when the astronauts went around the world in their spaceships, the person, one of them, I've forgotten his name now, but one of them wrote in his diary, and he was actually with us in '93 at the Interreligious Dialogue opening in Global House. And he read from his diary, and he said that in the first round across the earth, I recognized Dallas. There's Dallas, that's my home. And that's where the spaceship flew off from. And so I was identifying with these places. After we'd been around the earth a few times, I wasn't just identifying with the US, I was beginning to acknowledge all the rest of the world, that this is my home. And the more times we went around the earth, the more that feeling became stronger and stronger, that the whole planet is my home. And so Baba's given us a spaceship. Travel in time, go in the past, go in the future, but also travel across the three worlds. The other day Baba said, if your intellect is clean and pure, then you'll be able to travel across the three worlds very comfortably, very easily. And so when I'm in Paramdham and I look down, where can you find Durban on that planet? The whole of Africa is just a speck. And so where is Durban? Where is my home? And so this idea of my and mine finishes. The whole planet is my home. Experience that. Sangam Yug finishes and we go home. Experience that. Sangam Yug finishes and we go home. How long do you think we'll stay in Paramdham? A year? 6 months? 6 months? No. The souls the souls who are to come into Satyug will go home, be there for a moment, and very quickly come down. And so the time to experience Paramdham is now. Have you seen a very, very thick book in Madhuban called Flash of Time? No one? No one. One. Only one. Two. Somebody who came to Baba in the 70s was not really a scientist, but he was very interested in science. And he was so fascinated by the cycle. And he was absolutely passionate about the idea that people would only understand the cycle if it could be scientifically proven. And I said, I don't think science can help us. It can tell us that there is a cycle, but it won't be able to tell us that it's 5,000 years old. not science, because there's no physical evidence of that. All the physical evidence of the golden and silver age finished, and there isn't any trace left of it. But he anyway continued to do his research, and 30, 40 years of his life he spent researching that one topic, the cycle, and how to be able to prove 5,000 years. And I don't think he's been able to actually convince a scientist that this is what it is. But the scientists I know would say, well, science is experimentation. And so we don't have evidence of so much. We don't have evidence of soul. We don't have evidence of God. So how can we have evidence of the whole history of humanity? We can't prove that it's 5,000. Okay? So he spoke to Dadi Gulzar about his passion and desire to do a book like this. And so it was in that context he said to Dadi, how long will the transition from Kali Yuga to Satyug take? She paused, and I suppose connected with Baba, and she told him, it'll happen in a flash. So there's no time lag between the end of Kali Yuga. The concept of time is very different. It happens in a flash. Satyug comes about very fast. And so when God's children who have been making effort to come to that experience of Paramdham, to be able to give information to others, to allow them to experience the peace of Paramdham, those souls will go home just for a flash and then quickly come back down here and experience Satyug. Brahma Baba won't stay up there a long time. He stayed waiting for us a very long time. So he won't stay up there a long time after this. Very quickly Satyug begins. You know, when your buddhi changed from stone to diamond, it was in a moment. I don't think it took a long time, slow journey. Who felt it happened very, very quickly for them? Today it's a bit cold and people are wearing shawls, so their hands are under the shawl. So you're reluctant to put up your hands. But really the transformation of the intellect, even though it may be a long time happening, but when it actually happens, it's very quick. And so from Kali Yuga, you go home, and in a flash, the earth has been transformed by God, and there's a new world, a better world, a world of goodness for everyone that's ready. So, when is the time for all of us to experience Paramdham? It's now. Later, no experience, just acceptance. It's my home and I'm still, I'm silent. But now, aware of absolutely everything, beginning, middle and end of the cycle, so that I know exactly what I need to do now. So Sangam Yuga is the only time when we take knowledge from God directly, and as a result of that, we become master oceans of knowledge. How much did you know before Gyan? And how much has become clear after Gyan? It's as vast as an ocean. Really it is. Think about all the things you know. When Baba says, the world doesn't understand, the world doesn't know, only you children know these things. So that is the beauty of Sangam Yuga, the power of Sangam Yuga. Most recently, Baba has spoken about one thing that exists at the confluence age that does not exist through the whole cycle. Baba talks about many things about the golden age. This will be there, this will not be there, this word will be there, this word will never be used there. So very practical descriptions of what happens in the golden age and how things function. And so at this moment, what is it that I know that I'll never have an opportunity to know again? And that is how to accumulate. Satyug, whatever I've saved in my bank, I'll be drawing from that capital. I won't be taking interest, it'll be the capital I'm drawing from. Copper age, it's a mixed story. A little bit of good and a lot of other stuff. And so I'm not saving anything. But in fact, what's happening through the copper ages, gradually more and more debt is being accumulated. You come to the end of the cycle, and in the 83rd birth, you're going around with heavy shoulders because you're carrying a huge debt for the last 63 births. One birth, how much do I do? Many things. One day, how many things have you done today? Can't even count. And even though we are trying to settle things as we go through each day, in Sangam Yuga at least, how much have I still accumulated that I have to deal with? So I'm doing a little bit of plus, but I'm carrying a lot of minus, and I have to settle it all now. So in Sangam Yuga, definitely, I mustn't allow even a moment to go to waste, but I must make sure that it's accumulation, accumulation, accumulation. Baba used a lovely expression some time ago. The savings bank is open only at the confluence age. At no other time is the savings bank open. Satyuga and Treta you're drawing, but it's not open for savings. Who can you serve in the golden age? Everybody's full and content and happy. They don't need anything. But today, I can accumulate. With my words, I can accumulate. And most of all, with my actions, mind, body, wealth, whatever it is I have, I can accumulate. So the savings bank is now. And so this is another very powerful speciality of the confluence age. Clear? I'm not noticing any sort of positive response. So just think about it. Here's this little savings box that you have. How much are you putting into it every single day? And of course, sometimes we've done a little bit for Baba, but we take a lot from Baba and the Yagya. So how much am I accumulating every single day? Is it enough to last me through the whole cycle? Because it's not just during the golden and silver age that I'm drawing from that bank. can I accumulate so much that it lasts me right through the cycle till the very end. We can actually do that. Most Brahmins that one or two who've had very sad stories, but most Brahmins I know have had, compared to the rest of the world, a fairly comfortable and happy life, even in their 83rd birth. Right? Count your blessings every day and just see how much Baba has given you before Gyan and after Gyan. And you'll really be able to see such a huge difference between the sorrow of people who have nothing and Brahmins who have so much. And so very often Baba reminds us of attainment. Don't just think about effort. Yes, of course, pay attention to effort. But more than that, appreciate how much Baba has given you already. When I can learn to do that, then I begin to realize that there's things from last Kalpa that Baba helped me with at the end of my journey. But also, since Sangam Yug started, I've been putting in my little pennies to accumulate for the future. Every time we have Murli revision, we hear the Murli, then we revise the Murli, and every moment of Murli revision, you're accumulating. You're revising the treasures that Baba has given you, and if it's a group, you're serving others also, sharing. If it's me on my own, well, let me churn the Murli anyway, so that it gives me the strength and support that I need throughout the day. And so my pure thoughts, good words, good actions, all of that serves to accumulate. A few weeks ago we had a revision Murli, and Baba put it a little bit differently. And I remember that when I first heard that Murli, I was in Madhuban for that Murli from 2005. And when Baba first spoke about it, it all sounded the same. And the next day when I could actually read the Murli, I began to reflect, and then it became clear that Baba was talking about 3 different types of accumulation. I'm sure many of you remember that. So the first accumulation, effort for the self, my own personal practice of churning so that my thoughts are pure and clean and elevated, so that there's nothing else going on in here but Baba's Gyan. I'm looking at the world through that lens. I'm seeing every soul in the way that Gyan has taught me. I'm dealing with situations in the way Baba teaches me. When something happens, it's not just that I pause for a moment, but I actively ask myself the question, what would Baba want of me? And so, self-effort in Gyan, in yoga, in dharana. And the second one, Baba said, to be content at all times, but also to give contentment to others. It's very, very easy to say, well, I'm fine, I'm content. But am I able to give others that experience of contentment with me? Or is it that they're going to have complaints about me? And if they've got complaints about me, I can't claim that certificate of contentment. So it's not being a loner and sitting and having yoga all day, but it means staying content in connection with the whole family. And the bigger the family, the more sanskars you have to deal with. The more the support, the more the power and energy, but also the more the sanskars. And so the second certificate or the second savings was to what extent there's contentment. And the third one was service. But service with an altruistic attitude. Service in which you really don't want or don't expect any return of that service here and now. Whether it's in terms of approval or recognition, name or fame. None of that. Just out of love for Baba, doing it for Baba, doing it with Baba, and no return, no recognition. Not so easy, but that was what Baba was saying in terms of the savings account, service done with altruism, just simply love for God. And so in Sangam Yuga, I have the opportunity to create fortune. But how much fortune? And every step can be fortune. And at no time can I say, I don't get a chance. If I can't do physical service, it's okay. I can do mansa seva. But I need to prepare my mind to be absolutely clean, to be able to do mansa seva. If my mind is polluted, a little bit of negativity about this, lack of forgiveness for that one, that polluted mind cannot do mansa seva. A mind that's clean can catch Baba's vibrations and be with Baba and send out those vibrations. Otherwise, what am I sending out? Whatever's inside is what's going to be sent out. And so can I truly, truly, just simply have a clean heart, a pure heart that's filled with love for all, not for all minus one, not for all minus 2 or 3. Because very often we feel that it's easy to love the whole family, but then the people I interact with, I'll say, well, it's only one. But if it's one, it's poison. Would you accept a glass of water and you knew that it had only 1 drop of poison? It's still poison. And so forgiveness is a big subject. To forgive myself, to forgive others. But if I want to do mansa seva, it's a lot of homework that's involved. Because mansa seva means 2 things. A mind that's clean and you're able to serve through the mind. But the preparation for this, the cleaning of the mind. And when you know that mind is thoughts and feelings, then the cleaning up of my feelings. What sort of feelings do I carry from childhood? How deeply are they hidden? The trauma that I carry, that I didn't even realize I had carried. But the anger that I have, what was the cause of that anger? What trauma made it happen? What were the experiences that created that suppression of anger, but now it's coming up as I go through the cleaning? So you can see that on the one side it sounds very simple, just sit in a corner and send out good thoughts. But practically you can't. A, the mind won't have that stability, It won't have that focus or direction. But the cleaning of the mind, then it's transparent. Baba's giving light and love, and it's being transmitted out to the world. And of what you have should be for Baba, and that 1% will multiply, 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 and become a lot more. A family I know, I didn't know the history of what happened to the father, but from the time I knew and understood, I don't know when there was that separation or what. This is London. But she hadn't had enough education to be able to get a decent job or anything. And so everything was a struggle. But today, that child became a young man, stayed with Baba, pure and true all these years. And today he's a professor at the university. And so is able to look after his mother very comfortably. She's now in her 80s. But they never complained. They just carried on. And whatever was the karma of the past got settled, and today, happy, healthy, wealthy. So, what am I doing? Giving reasons, excuses why I can't do mansa seva or service through words? It's not lectures that are service through words. It's kind words to your family, kind words to the Brahmin family, words of encouragement, words of positivity, words of gyan. But it's an accumulation then, more and more and more. And my actions, something little that I can do every day for Baba, every day for the family, little things. I know a mother who can't do anything else. She's not even able to come to class, but she makes little blessings, blessing cards. Sitting at home, take the Avyak Murli books, and the Avyak Murli is full of ready-made blessings, and design and create blessings, for example. But if you really want to do service, there's no excuse, no reason to say, I can't. There'll be something or another. Another story after the father died. So he never saw his father. So you can imagine the ages of the children, 5 of them. And this is India. But she was very close to Baba and followed every instruction that Baba gave her, and also Dadi Jayanti. When a woman becomes a widow in India, at least in those days, this is the 60s, there's no future for her. Her in-laws take over whatever it is she has, and she's either under their control totally, or she's left on her own to fend for herself, and there's no help from government, of course. So she's got no status, no position. So it's not a happy story. She came to Baba at the time that her husband was unwell, and her husband was encouraging her to come. And so the connection with Gyan had begun, and he passed away. And Dadi asked her a very practical question: what your husband had and how much he's left. And she was lucky, because most women, I don't know today, but at that time, they don't have any idea of what their husband has or what it is they've been left. She was better, she knew, and she said that, yes, I do know, But her husband was part of a family business with 3 other brothers. And so guess what the brothers said to her? Yes, this is your husband's share that is rightfully yours, but let us look after it. You don't know enough about banking and finance and business. We look after it and give you your share. Sounds reasonable, doesn't it? Daddy spoke to Baba, and Baba said, no, teach her karma philosophy. She has to take it into her own hands. She wants to, or help Madhavan. And her whole life was filled with dignity, but she also wanted to do some service. At night, the children would go to bed. And from 9 to 10, the service she did was to write letters in which it was Daddy's classes. No photostats in those days, no recordings in those days. And so either you hear it yourself or somebody writes it and sends it to you. And so every 2 weeks, my mother used to get a letter from her, and you know those aerograms, so 3 pages were Daddy's classes of the week. And on the other side was 1/4, which was then Daddy's words, Daddy's letter. And so she found a way to do service. So if I want to serve others and give them gyan and bring them closer to Baba, they'll all do it. So savings account, one way or another, not just for half a kalpa, but for the whole kalpa. But Baba's gyan gives us such wisdom about life and how to use your life. That's how emperors are created. They had the wisdom to create their life and make it a beautiful one, but they also shared that wisdom with others so that others could elevate their lives and make their lives beautiful too. And just imagine you serve one and that one serves another, and usually it's not just one. When you serve one, maybe you're also serving others. It's 10. And the 10 serve others, and so Satyuga is created. And Baba's lesson, very beautiful. When there's 1, add a 0, Baba's remembrance, and it multiplies, multiplies, multiplies. And you become a multi-millionaire. So Sangam Yuga is a time for fortune. So really, every day, count your blessings, see your fortune, and just keep saying, thank you, Baba, thank you, Baba. A few minutes left for questions. Then we have yoga together. Do we have another mic?
I think the one question that I have is when souls at this time, when we commit suicide, what happens to the soul, or what is the experience of the soul that they get to that point, and how do you actually serve them? You know, when they're so destitute in their thinking, there must be something, like if there's a sense of hopelessness, but how do you instill some kind of hope or faith for them so they find a way forward?
We're living at a time when there are more suicides amongst young people than there have ever been before. And so that state of negativity in which they see nothing for themselves, no hope for the future, and they don't see any avenue out of the hole that they're stuck in. I've had the experience of talking to a few people who are suicidal and then talking to them almost like a meditation commentary, reminding them, and it was Brahmins, reminding them of how much Baba has given them, and because I knew them personally, the good that they had done, and reminding them that it takes about 40 minutes, gently, because it's like the intellect is blocked, they're not ready to listen, but gently reminding them and eliciting a response from them, and the response became more and more positive. And so then I felt I could now leave them and it was safe. So that's if there's somebody around who can talk to you. But in most cases, in London, can you imagine? There are posters just recently, just before I left London, big billboard posters that are targeting young people, telling them there is help available. You do have a friend who's going to listen to you. Because apparently they have all the social devices and, all those methods of connecting, but they're totally isolated, and loneliness is a big issue. I suppose every country is different, but this is London at the present time, today. And they had statistics about how many young people feel lonely. Forgotten the figure now. But it was all about this, and how that loneliness drives them to despair and make them feel that there's no way at all that they can progress. And so that soul reaches that point, and it doesn't appreciate at that moment that they could make a difference to their own life, or that there is help available, but also they don't realize the impact it's going to have on the people they live with, the people who are around them, whether it's parents, whether it's partners, whatever. But it's just like darkness has come to the intellect and they see no way out at all. And so in that condition, leaving the body, the next birth, and yes, they would take another birth, but they would still carry those sanskars of darkness with them, because there's been no effort made to change that. And as a child also, parents need to give them a huge amount of love. And sometimes parents have the capacity to give love, but sometimes they don't. And so it becomes a very vicious circle. And so I can imagine that one of the reasons why there is so much darkness within young people today is probably connected with past birth and their experiences of past birth. And so how can we help them? We don't know who they are, we don't know what it is they're going through. But one of the big things that's come up in recent times, after COVID, especially after COVID, is mental health. And how many of you know that there's a little booklet that's been designed with information about how to help people who are at least in a state of depression, if not suicidal? There's a little book that's available. Talk to your center teacher and see if they have access to it. They should. And Deepti seems to know it, so you can connect with Deepti and find out how to get that information. But it's a state of the world. When I hear about these things, for me the only answer that comes is that it's Kali Yuga. But not only is it Kali Yuga, it's the end of Kali Yuga. And so to think about ways in which we can help young people who we know and make sure that they have a support system. Young BKs can you create a group with them so that they support each other? They're not so willing always to take support from people with grey hair, but they will listen to each other and create friendships. And so friendship, love, and involvement in something which is useful. One second. Here. Or was there somebody there? Okay, here and then wherever.
Jayanti, how would you explain Dharma Raj?
We're getting into serious stuff tonight. But it's important all these things get clarified so that you can have a good night's sleep. The word Dharma Raj is actually very beautiful. The one who establishes a kingdom of righteousness. So the supreme judge is there to be able to establish a kingdom of righteousness. And the way it works is that, and this has come from Dadi and also Avyakt Murlis and Sakar Murlis, but what's clear to me now is that, yes, there will be an end point where souls will come in front of Brahma Baba and Shiv Baba, but also the tribunal, the 8 jewels who have helped all of us. And there will be a vision, as Baba tells us very often, of whatever it is that we've done, this birth, past births, so that then we know why the suffering is coming. So we don't feel that, well, why am I being punished? But the punishment isn't anything external. You know, different scriptures describe it in different ways, burning in oil and crocodiles coming to eat you up, nothing like that. But just the very depth of realization at that point when you can no longer give any excuse. At that time you see what it is you've done and why there's now pain and regret and suffering. And so the internal regret and the sorrow that I feel from that is the punishment. It's nothing external. It's my own depth of realization. But at that moment, I can't say to Baba, I'm going to change. I've had that opportunity. And Dharma Raj exists more so for Brahmins than for others, because we've had the opportunity to have direct teachings from God, help and support from God. And through all of this, yet still, we continued to be careless or lazy or gave excuses, whatever it was. And so, if today I can go through my realization now and put right whatever it is that went wrong and sort out my sanskars and purify the soul with God's love and remembrance, and this is the only time I can do that, Sangam Yug. So if I do that today, at the end, Dharma Raj will just simply salute and say, go ahead. And if I haven't taken the time and trouble to do that for myself today, well, an account has to be settled and made clear.
When we are dealing with the issue of gender-based violence,
Off.
gender-based violence in our communities, and gender-based violence is a very wide subject, and because we work in theatre and we write plays about these issues, one of the challenges for me personally is that people who follow fashion are stupid. Sorry, I have to put it like that. Because even if whatever fashion is out there doesn't suit you, you will want to have it because it's the in thing, everybody's doing it, so why can't I do it? And also, young ladies are not dressing decently anymore. You can see their bodies, and that's the fashion. And then you can't attack the fashion directly through the play. You have to lead the whole insinuation of fashion in a certain way that's subtle, but that's also going to, like, at the end, make them realize that actually following fashion is useless. And then also in this case of gender-based violence, there is a lot of murder. Women are murdered. We blame the men. But on the other hand, we have to be able to make the women realize their part in it. And I've been trying to turn this issue around in my head. I've just written a play on arranged marriages, but it's a very wide subject. I still want to keep on writing, going deeper into gender-based violence, but what I'm thinking of is going to take me into what I call a dangerous space, because it also involves lust. So I'm trying to find a way to express all of these things in a way that I don't insult anybody, but I make them listen and understand.
It's an issue worldwide, and it's definitely got worse after COVID times, because being in close proximity and no channel to express yourself outside, everything became focused in the household. And alcohol plays a part in it in a big way. Drugs also nowadays the same. Baba's work in villages, in towns in a more quiet way, but in villages in a very obvious way, helping both men and women, so that men realize that the salary they get isn't supposed to be spent on Friday evening on drinks. And that is what was happening in one particular community. It was a jungle community, and I was meeting the group, this is some years ago, in Madhya Pradesh, central India. And so the menfolk from the jungle would bring in all the things that the jungle has, whether it's cinnamon, spices, various things they would collect, and they would bring it to the city, the town, and sell it. And before they got home, the money was spent, and it was spent on alcohol or gambling. Nowadays, gambling is the other thing that's come up. London used to have one casino, full stop, and it was controlled. Now I see many, many casinos, not just in London, but wherever I go, casinos. So where there's unfulfilled desires inside, then that creates that violence in which I lash out on others. But basically, I've lost what I've had, even on a practical level. I have nothing, and so the frustration and anger comes out on those who can't oppose it. So on the one side, that education for men, but also, and this is certainly what has been observed in Indian families, so I'll talk from that background, both in India and abroad, where there's the Indian diaspora, women still tend to think that they have to take more care of the boys, and they want to have boy child. Within the system of arranged marriages, in India again, and within the Indian diaspora, the parents have to earn a lot, give the girl a huge amount of dowry, etc., and then that becomes a factor for violence, where the in-laws or the husband says, that's not enough, bring more. And it's a never-ending story where it starts, and it's led to suicides, and that's been documented in a big way, especially women who burn themselves, or husbands who burn the women and then say that, well, it was an accident, it was a kerosene stove that made it happen. So where mothers give preference to the boy child, the boy grows up with that attitude that he is superior, and so he has to take control and take charge. And once a boy gets that into his head, it's next to impossible to change it. They grow up with that, and it becomes stronger day by day. And so women are part of that whole story. Not so much today, abroad at least, but even in places like the UK and USA, these two I know about, there are still joint families, families that live, they're not able to get their own house, or they don't want to get their own house, but the whole family, parents, the young ones, and their children, 3 generations living together. And the mother-in-law is the matriarch, and the way she treats her daughter-in-law is really not as a human being at all. And the strangest thing is it's happening now in the world of education and in the developed world. And so what is it that makes a woman accept a situation like that? The story I related about the widow, what gave her courage was recognizing I'm a soul, I'm a Shiv Shakti, I'm God's child, and allowing that power to be expressed with authority, not with disrespect. If she had been disrespectful to the brothers of her husband, it wouldn't have been tolerated at all. But she maintained her dignity, she maintained her respect, but she knew what her rights were, and she was able to claim her rights. And so Baba's Gyan helps women enormously, but also men, to understand what it is that they can do to create the right atmosphere and situation. So certainly from the point of spirituality, this is very much part of Baba's transformation process, giving women that authority, making men understand the value of women. So Iceland, and you would think that Iceland is a place where, and I think women have more rights than any other country I've ever seen. But they were telling me about this situation where it wasn't always like this within the last 50 years. And so about 20, 30 years ago, one woman said that we can go on strike. We'll have one day in which women do no work at all. And that was described as Freedom Day. That one day they did no cooking, they did not look after the children unless they were single parents, but they left all the work to be done by the husbands, by the menfolk. And the men got a tiny taste of how much women have to deal with in a single day. And so she was saying that this was the president of Iceland who was speaking. I've shared yesterday in the program, how she spoke about problems being resolved inside that can change outside. So she's a very enlightened woman, I have to say. So she was talking about this in public and saying that I want October the 24th to have women claim their freedom again. And if women across the world join, then I think we can make a big difference. So we've said to the sister in Iceland, Stefania, find out, what she's planning so that we can circulate it worldwide, because it is something that's for everyone. So I'll let you know further. So. Yeah. You have a question? No? Okay, so Jyotish Bhai has a question. Oh my goodness, the clock is ticking.
Om Shanti. Being physical or more than physical, it's being intellectual or more powerful is the feeling level. So, and also out of feeling, the love is the most powerful feeling. How do we become more loveful to Baba? More and more loveful to Baba? What is the tricks?
A good question to close with. Gratitude. Just think about what Baba has done for you, how much Baba has done, and what Baba continues to do for you every single day. And when you appreciate that and you have that gratitude, then automatically, thank you, Baba, I love you, Baba. And of course, then when Baba sees your love, you're able to receive more love. And so the heart grows even bigger. But also see how things have happened that could not have happened without Baba's help. One is what I can consciously see, Baba helped me in this way. But sometimes there are things that have unfolded in magical ways. How did it happen? Baba, it must have been you. It was your unseen hand that made all that happen. And so your faith grows and your love grows. Faith and love are very connected. Nishchaya buddhi vijayanti, faith in the intellect brings victory. Preet buddhi vijayanti, a loving intellect has victory. Okay, so experience Baba's love. And the joy of knowing Sangam Yug and the beauty of Sangam Yug and all the treasures that Sangam Yug gives.
Om Shanti. Thank you so much for
For you?
Start with meditation. So there's somebody in the commentary.
To be like a meditation commentary. Does Jayanti Ben know?
Huh? That's
she
what
know?
I wonder if they told us. If that's okay, Jayanti knows also.
Does Jayanti Ben know it will be a
Tell her.
commentary?
So just a reminder, if we can switch our cell phones off or mute them.
I am at the confluence age. Baba, at this time, you found me. I am at the confluence age. These are my precious living moments with you, Baba. I am at the confluence age. And in this time, you have shared with me everything. I was not even aware of my home, of you, Baba, or even of myself. But at this time, there has been recognition. I recognized you, Baba. I recognize the time. And I experience the deep, deep security of my home. I am at the confluence. Every moment is so precious. It is the only time, Baba, that I can accumulate. So I, the soul, pure living energy, a radiant being of light, so subtle, come into your presence. I am at home with God. The beautiful moments of the confluence age. I also experience Bab Dada, the total experience of the subtle region, the gift of the confluence age. As I look into your eyes, Baba, as your drishti of love, purity, and power fills me with light. I feel myself being surrounded in an orb of light. I am nourished by love. I am enveloped in purity. I am at the confluence. This very precious, short time of the confluence. This is my only time to accumulate. My only time to make self-effort. It is the only time I accumulate through contentment, contentment with the self, and being content with others. This is my only time I accumulate through the fortune of service. I am with you, Baba. So light, so subtle. I am at the confluence.
से परे मधुर साज से भरे अंदाज में बुलाए बाबा पुकार के बच्चे आओ। आवाज से परे मधुर साज से भरे अंदाज में बुलाए बाबा पुकार के बच्चे आओ। सितारों से दूर सितारों का जहां रहता परम सितारा बेहद सुकून वहां। सितारों से दूर सितारों का जहां रहता परम सितारा बेहद सुकून वहां। बच्चे बच्चे नूर समंदर दिखता सुंदर लहराए निरंतर आनंदित अंतर। मौजों की मौज लेने का है समय वो प्रेम डोर से खींचे वहाँ। जी भर निहार के लिए पंख प्यार के हम उड़ चले। आवाज से परे मधुर साज से भरे अंदाज में बुलाए बाबा पुकार के बच्चे आओ। राहें देखे बाबा बाहें खोले दिल से सुन ले मृदुल स्वर में वो बोले। राहें देखे बाबा बाहें खोले दिल से सुन ले मृदुल स्वर में वो बोले। कुर्बान करके आओ पुराना जान सुन प्यार से पुकारे वो शिव क्षमा। जी भर निहार के लिए पंख प्यार के हम उड़ चले। आवाज से परे मधुर साज से भरे अंदाज में बुलाए बाबा पुकार के बच्चे आओ।